Learning is a systematic, relatively permanent change in behavior of the learner that occurs through experience. An examination of this definition may reveal that the learning process is centered around the three elements, namely the learner whose behavior is to be modified, the type of experience and training required for modification in the learner's behavior, and the men and material resources needed for providing desired experience and training. Therefore, the success or failure in the task of learning in terms of introducing desired modification in the behavior of the learner will automatically depend upon the quality as well as control and management of the things and factors associated with the above cited main elements. However, a close analysis of these elements may clearly reveal that these elements can be easily grouped into two broad categories, namely personal factors and environmental factors. The factors associated with the learner are nothing but the personal factors lying within the learner, and whatever lying outside the learner is nothing but only the influence of his environment on the process and products of learning. Let us see about the personal factors that tend to influence the learning of the learner in this module. What is the significance in studying about the factors affecting learning? In order to solve the problems related to learning and to improve the teaching methodology, it is mandatory to study about the factors affecting learning. For example, a particular child may be very good at acquiring practical skills such as repairing electrical gadgets, shopping for the household, etc., while his brother or sister may in contrast be very poor on these and good at academic tasks instead. Even for yourself, you may be perplexed why you can do some tasks well but not others given the same competence level. Let me see another example. Learning the tunes of songs and even their lyrics is often found to be easier than learning a formula or a poem. Do you ever wonder why this is so? You may have observed that for some people, learning driving, swimming or cooking is achieved easily, while for some others it is a nightmare. Why this happens? What could be the underlying reasons? Why individuals differ with respect to how and what they learn are the key questions addressed in the present unit. To find some answers to these questions, identifying and understanding the various factors affecting learning will be of immense help. Factors that affect learning. Now we see about the personal factors, that is factors associated with the learner. The learner is the key figure in any learning task. The student has to learn or bring desired modification in his or her behavior. How the student will learn or what she or he will achieve through a particular learning act depends heavily upon her or his own characteristics and way of learning. Some of the personal factors associated with learning are described below. Learner's physical and mental health. Learning is greatly affected by the learner's physical and mental health maintained by the student, particularly at the time of learning. A simple headache or stomach pain can distract the process and products of learning. The students who did not keep up with satisfactory physical health have to suffer adversely in terms of the gain in learning. Similarly, the mental state and health of the learner at the time of learning become potent factor in deciding the outcome of the learning. A tense, emotionally and mentally disturbed learner cannot be supposed to show satisfactory results in learning. The next factor is the basic potential of the learner. The results achieved by the learner through a process of learning depends upon his or her basic potential to undergo in such learning. Such potential may consist of the following things: learner's innate abilities and capacities for learning a thing, learner's basic potential in terms of general intelligence and specific knowledge, understanding and skills related to particular learning area, learner's basic interests, aptitudes and attitudes related to the learning of a particular thing or area. The next personal factor is the level of aspiration and achievement motivation. Learning is greatly influenced by the level of aspiration and nature of achievement motivation possessed by the learner. How can we expect from a learner to achieve a thing for which the learner has no aspiration? One has to maintain the level of his aspiration and achievement motivation to a reasonable level, neither too high causing frustration for non-achievement nor too low as not to try for the things for which she or he is quite capable. In this way, one's level of aspiration and achievement motivation works significantly towards gains in learning. The next factor is goals of life. The philosophy and immediate as well as ultimate goals of one's life affect the process and products of learning. His mode and ways of looking towards the things, his inclination towards the learning in a particular area and patience and persistence maintained for continuing his learning despite the heavy odds all depend upon his goals and philosophy of life. The next factor is readiness and willpower. Learner's readiness and power to learn is a great deciding factor about his results in learning. No power on earth can make a learner learn if he is not ready to learn. Contrarily, if he has a will to learn a thing, then automatically he will himself find the way for its effective learning. The next important factor is the maturation as a factor in learning. Maturation is an important factor that affects our learning, is defined as growth that proceeds regularly within a wide range of environmental conditions. Maturation is growth that takes place regularly in an individual without special condition of stimulation such as training and practice. Learning is possible only when a certain stage of maturation is also reached. Exercise and training becomes fruitful only when a certain stage of maturation is attained. Maturation determines the readiness of the child for learning. Learning will be ineffective if the child has not attained the required level of maturity. There are individual differences in maturation. This means the rate of maturation varies with individuals. There are individual differences in the capacity to learn at the same age level. This is because of the difference of maturation level. Specific skills are learnt by children easily who mature earlier than others. The 3 R's, that is reading, writing and reckoning, can be learnt only after the maturation of muscular and brain capacities. Rate of learning ability is closely related to the maturation of the cerebral cortex. Deterioration of cortical tissues in old age brings about declination in the learning ability. So, it can be said that learning is not independent of maturation, but must be based upon a sufficient stage of growth. Learning is possible only when a certain stage of maturation is reached. However, much we practice a 6-month-old child with walking exercises, the infant cannot walk. The muscles have not matured enough for the infant to learn to walk. This particular learning is possible only when the nerves and the muscles have attained a particular stage of maturity and development. Practice is most productive when properly articulated with maturational level. It is very essential for the teachers to know the maturation level of the pupils. Attention and perception as factor in learning. Another factor which affects learning is attention. Attention is always present in conscious life and is common to all types of mental activity. It is the characteristics of all conscious life. Every activity of yours is based on interest and attention. You can succeed in achieving your goals only when your attention is directed towards learning. Attention is defined as the root of selective consciousness by Ross. Dumville defined attention as the concentration of consciousness upon one subject rather than another. What are the characteristics of attention? Let me see. Attention is focusing consciousness on one object. One object is the focus of attention. All other objects are in the margin of attention right now. What is the focus of your attention? What objects are in the margin of your attention? Attention is selective. We choose to attend one object in preference to others. Attention is constantly shifting from focus to margin. It is a state of preparedness where the muscles and sense organs ready themselves for attending. It cannot be divided between two mental tasks. What are the different types of attention? They are voluntary attention, selective attention and involuntary attention. Voluntary attention. A person actively searches out information that has personal relevance. Selective attention is a person selectively focuses attention on relevant information. Involuntary attention is a person is exposed to something surprising, novel, threatening or unexpected. For example, surprise, movement, unusual sounds, size of stimulus, contrast effects and color. Several factors can affect attention. These are the factors inherent in the object of attention. They are movement. An animated picture elicits more attention than a still picture. Size of an object. Large letters attract more attention than tiny font. Contrast. Dark letters stand out against a light background. Color. Colors, especially bright ones, gain more attention than drab colors. Novelty. A new gimmick in advertising is an instant hit. Change in stimuli. If the clock suddenly stops ticking, it is likely to attract attention. If a teacher passes in the midst of the lecture, the students are likely to pay more attention to the next few words. Intensity. A glaring light, sharp sound, fluorescent markers serve as attention grabbers. Repetition. Words of a song that are repeated or words in a lecture that are repeated attract attention. What is the significance of attention in learning? It is basic need for all types of learning. Every moment of yours is attracted by many stimuli of the environment. Your mind is not able to concentrate on all the stimuli at the same time. It is because of attention that you are able to concentrate on important aspect of a single object. Consider a classroom where there are lot of things like desk, bench, chalk, blackboard, duster, fan and charts. When a teacher shows you a particular chart, you pay attention to that. It shifts the focus of learner to the chart. This helps them to learn more about it. Therefore, it can be said that attention helps you to clear the vivid objects. It arouses interest in learners to learn a particular thing. It increases efficiency of the learner and also motivates learners to learn more. It makes the learners ready to learn and it brings a state of alternates in learners for doing tasks. It helps the learner to perceive events or ideas. Thus, attention is a necessary condition for any task in the classroom. It is the hub of entire learning process. It is essential for learning as well as understanding well. Attention is an essential factor for teachers as well as students. If you are attentive in classroom, you are fully prepared to receive any stimulus. It enables you to learn properly within a period. It helps you to achieve the target within short period and with reasonable amount of effort. The next important factor that affects learning is perception. Perception is the process through which a person is exposed to information, attends to the information and comprehends the information. Exposure: a person receives information through his or her senses. Attention: a person allocates processing capacity to a stimulus. Comprehension: a person interprets the information to obtain meaning from it. Thus, we can mean perception as: it is the mental process by which you get knowledge of external world. You receive innumerable impression through the sense organs. You select some of these and organize them into unit which conveys some meaning. The transformation of sensation into organized pattern is called as perception. Hence, we can call perception as sensation plus meaning. For example, eyes react to light and give us the knowledge of brightness. Nose reacts to smell and gives us the knowledge of pleasant or unpleasant smell. Ear reacts to the sound of barking and gives us the knowledge of presence of a dog. Perception is an active state of mind in which it reacts on sensation and interprets it. The basis of perception is sensation. What is the importance of perception in learning? Learning depends on an individual's percepts. If you are able to perceive a thing correctly, then right learning will take place. Learning will proceed in a proper direction due to correct percepts. Both sensation and perception play an important role in your learning. Sensations are the first impression, so it has to be absolutely clear. Sensations give rise to perception, and on that basis you get a proper understanding of an object, idea or an experience. Learning depends upon accurate and efficient perception, and perception depends upon the sensation, which depends on the normal functioning of the sense organs. Thus, perception is important for proper learning and understanding. The next important factor which influence learning is motivation and inclination. The knowledge of how to stimulate the students to participate meaningfully in classroom will go a long way in assisting the teachers. Motivation is defined as an inspiration that propels someone into an action. It is an internal state or condition that activates and gives direction to our thoughts, feelings and actions. In the opinion of Aldale, motivation is a process by which the learner's internal energies are directed toward various goal objects in his or her environment. These energies or arousals push an individual in achieving his goals. An individual may be highly motivated to perform well in a task and completely unmotivated in another. This means that when people are motivated, they will work tirelessly to achieve their aspirations. Inclination is a person's natural tendency or urge to act or feel in a particular way at disposition. Maslow believed that motivation leads to growth and development, and that need satisfaction is the most important sole factor underlying motivation. Maslow further explained that man is perpetually in needs and that the resources to satisfy those needs are limited. In view of this, man places his or her wants on the scale of preference that he or she selects the most pressing need. After this need has been satisfied, it becomes less important, paving the way for the next on the rank. The needs of man may either be primary or secondary. Primary needs are the physiological wants of a man. It may be the need for water, rest, sexual intercourse, hunger and thirst. Secondary needs are the desire for autonomy, affection or the need for safety and security. For example, the desire of a laborer to take a glass of water after thirst is a primary need. At the same time, craving of the students to stay in a serene classroom environment is a secondary level. Now let me see the types of motivation. There are two types of motivation or arousals. They can either be internally or externally driven. The desire for food or sex arises from within us, that is intrinsic, while the yearning to obtain recognition or approval is influenced by the conditions in our environment, that is extrinsic. In view of the above explanation, motivation is divided into intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Now let me see about intrinsic motivation. It is an internal force or motive within the individual which propels him or her into emitting certain behavior. It is an innate or genetically predetermined disposition to behave in a particular way when he or she faces a particular situation. This type of motivation can make an individual to have the feelings of self confidence and competence. A student who is intrinsically motivated may carry out a task because of the enjoyment he or she derives from such a task. In another way, a dog that sees a bone and runs for it did that because of the satisfaction it derives from eating bone. This type of behavior does not require any prior learning. Sighting the bone changes the behavior of the dog and propels it to act. The next type of motivation is extrinsic motivation, which is the external or environmental factor which sets the individual's behavior into motion. The incentive or reinforcer drives an individual's behavior towards a goal. A student that is extrinsically motivated will execute an action in order to obtain some reward or avoid some sanctions. For example, a student who read hard for the examination did so because of the desire to obtain better grade. The case also goes for a runner who wants to win a prize. He or she will need constant practice than a person who wants to run for the fun of it. For example, extrinsic incentive may spur a student to actively participate in the task for which the student has no interest, but may undermine intrinsic and continuing motivation in him or her. Therefore, students' motivation automatically has to do with the student's desire to participate in the learning process. It also concerns the reasons or goals that underlie their involvement or non-involvement in academic activities. Let us see the classroom implications of motivation. It is important for the teacher to know the basic needs of the students and cater for these according to level of their importance. For example, the teacher needs to think first of students' food, rest or health before thinking of teaching them. When the teacher praises his or her students for doing well in their study or assignment, they will be spurred to sustain that effort. A classroom which is well decorated or adorned with beautiful charts and learning materials will be students friendly. The students' minds will always be attracted to the activities in a beautifully adorned classroom. In the classroom, students like being recognized or respected. When their views are recognized or respected, they will have their confidence boosted and developed. From the beginning of the lesson, the teacher should endeavor to make his or her students know possible outcome of the lesson. It is when the students know what they are likely to achieve from the lesson that their attention will be arrested and sustained. Feedback is necessary if the interest of the students must be sustained in the classroom. So, the teacher should always strive to let them know how they are performing in the teaching learning activities. The teacher should also provide or plan for extracurricular activities for the students. When the teacher does this, the students will have opportunity of establishing a genuine interaction among them. Besides, they will be able to display their hidden talents. When dealing with the students in the classroom, the teacher should take into consideration the developmental changes and differences in the students before deciding on the particular motivation pattern to be employed. In this module, we have analyzed the significance of studying the factors associated with learning and described the various personal factors that influence learning and their implications in the classroom. Thank you.